Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Super excited today. I have Candice Lazar on. I met you through my good friend Lorna. The reason I'm smiling, if you're not listening to this, was like 10 seconds ago, this really pretty, amazing cat right behind the top of your head, Candice, which was distracting me, but I loved it. But I do have a quick, funny story that I'm going to ask you a question because I thought about this. We were talking before, I have pugs, right? They love to sit above our head, like on our couch, they'll climb, they'll sit there. I actually researched it. They're, I guess, from China was where the pugs are made. And emperors used to think they could protect their mind, and that's why they would train them to sit by their head. Plus, they were guard dogs. Now, hold on. It was like, why is a pug a guard dog? You didn't just have one pug. They have like 5, 10, 15 of them. They hear everything. So there's like a lot of little barks. Because if you have just a really big dog, an assassin back in the day could take it out. If you have 20 pugs, you're not getting to the person without one of them barking. So that was just my little funny thing. But this is about you, not me. She's like, oh God, he's doing this. Candice, tell us who you are, who you help, and what you do.
I think that's really interesting because yes, normally, dogs prefer low and it's really cats that go higher. And I saw you might have seen me actually move this shirt over. She tends to really like this shirt. It encourages her to come over here more, which I like until my neck starts to hurt. And then I
Yep.
start to just, jostle a bit until she gets down. But about me, I am a long story short is I am a marketer turned lawyer, turned back to marketer, turned breathwork facilitator and somatic coach. And I still do both of those. I still do some marketing in addition to the coaching. But yeah, it's been a long and interesting road as I'm sure everyone's is. Everyone's own story has its twists and turns, and uh, mine is no
That's
exception.
interesting. Now I have to ask because it's on my mind. I'm thinking you have three different veins that you go down. Marketing is business, sales. People get a persona of that. Lawyer, again, business, different type of persona, and then a breath work, which I've dealt with a lot of breath work coaches are amazing. And you said the other thing, but I'll say it wrong. So breath work and the other stuff you do. Um, have you just always been a curious person to where you just like to try different things? Because all three of those are different, like different veins, different disciplines, different modalities.
Yes. And yes, to answer your question, um, it's actually one of my, if you've ever done a Clifton Strengths inventory, one of my strengths supposedly is enjoying learning and researching. I don't always view it as a strength. Sometimes it is a detriment. Sometimes it is a big time suck. But yes, I do like trying new things. And I'm also, I think this is very important too. I'm not a big sunk cost theory person. A lot of people, they're like, God, I threw so much into this. I'm going to keep with it. I'm someone who, for better or worse, I'm like, let's just move on and try the next thing. So I believe I'm willing to try more new things than maybe other people are. Now, to me, there's a natural progression of those things. I went to law school in part because I relocated. And so I knew I was going to be making a change. I I come from a family of people who all went to law school a little bit on the later side. I actually remember my father's law school graduation. I was 5, maybe 6. I remember what I wore, and I felt so proud being there that day. And I've got pictures from that. And to me, it kind of was I don't want to say an effect of moving, but it probably was largely that. And I viewed it as an education. And then during that time, I thought, well, you're learning a very specific thing. Why don't you try this thing to see if you like it? So I decided that I should practice law. I shouldn't just view it as an education and as a business degree. But I had already enjoyed marketing. I liked that. I knew I liked that. So I came into law not really necessarily expecting to love it. And I fulfilled that for myself in a way. Like it was fine. And as far as practicing law, I practiced the type of law that I was most interested in. I should say one of the types of law that I was most interested in, which was intellectual property. So there were aspects of it I liked, but overall, it just wasn't ideal for me. And I was looking for something else to do, some sort of, side gig to start. And I was going to do something legally adjacent. And I was researching that, but then one day I saw a banner ad for copywriting, for direct response copywriting. And as far as I had known from my prior background, copywriting was something that you studied in 4-year university, same with advertising or whatever. I didn't realize that you could learn copywriting a different way, and there was this whole other market and way of being able to do that. So that's when I went back into marketing, having discovered that. And then I found breathwork when I was on vacation. I had heard of it. I wasn't really familiar with it, but I had heard the word. I was on vacation and I was very sick on vacation. And I spent like the first half of this trip to the other side of the world in bed. And I was trying to meditate because I feel like that's what you're supposed to do when you're, trying to feel better and waiting for stuff to kick in. But I couldn't focus at all. But there was this one meditation I found that had a breathwork aspect to it. And I really, really liked that. So I kept doing that one meditation. And then being a researcher and being a person who likes learning, when I got home, I was like, well, why did you like it so much?
Hmm.
What is it about that you thought was interesting? So then I
Yeah.
started researching and I decided to become a coach so that I could share it with other people and do that in a responsible way.
No, I love that. So what I'm like threads, patterns, and all. Like in my day job and in my life, I'm a sales guy and I just like read people, but everyone has their own like different things. And yours just seems to be like shouting curiosity. Like you get something, you get a little bit interested into it, and then you just deep dive when it's something that really affects you. So I love that. Um, my question is, what type of breath works do you do now? Because I've done your typical box breathing, which is like really basic, but I've also done the one where, and I'm going to say it wrong, you'll explain it way better than me, where it like drops the front of your brain and makes you actually do healing. I guess that's the easiest way I'm putting it in layman's terms, you'll say it better. And I did that like I think 3 times, and one time was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It felt like 5 minutes. Um, what type of like when you're doing breath work? Let's start there, and then we'll go back where I like doing things in backwards order at times. Um, what got you? Because I know you liked it, but liking something to coaching it and helping people with it, has that always been something that you just are like a operator in that way? Because a lot of people like things, but they don't coach it.
That's very true. I think that is an outgrowth of the fact that I like marketing, that I have a marketing background and I want to share this with the world. And as I mentioned, I want to do it responsibly. But yes, I think it's something that there's room in the market for. People have yoga was not a thing. When you and I were young children, yoga was not a thing. It was like a very weird, hippie, crunchy. Now yoga is like you could take a yoga class 20 minutes from now, right down the street, pretty much anywhere. And meditation is kind of on that same trajectory, but a bit behind. It's not at that level yet, but it's getting there in terms of people's familiarity, knowledge, comfort. I see breathwork being on that same trajectory. Like it's an up and coming thing. People don't know about it yet. It's a thing that I have skills that I can bring it to them. And again, the coaching to me is again, the lawyer me, credentials, learning, right? Wanting to make sure that I'm doing it right. What you talked about, you mentioned it's called conscious connected breathing. And, I can't just tell you like, here's how to do it. Bye, have fun. See you later, right? I got to talk
Yep.
you through. I got to
Yep.
explain to you how. I got to tell you what might happen. I need to, I need to, you can just sit there and do that pattern on your own, but ideally you've got someone reminding you, and then you've got guidance to keep you on the rhythm.
Mhm.
And yeah, crazy things can happen, or nothing can happen at all, but you still just feel really good at the end, very, like you just had a big workout kind of a thing. Um, so yeah, I think that no, my marketing background, I thought, this is a thing to share with people. This is a thing that you can bring to people that is not yet, the market is not saturated yet. There's room for people to be able to learn, um, and it's new and fun and cool and different.
No, and I love it. Like, and yeah, definitely the second one, like box breathing, anyone can do. Like, if I get anxiety or something, I'll do box breathing. That's great. But the one that we were talking about, I've always had a facilitator. The first time I think they had bells to bring us back because sometimes you just get lost in it. Or I did. Maybe it's someone else. Like I just like you get lost in the whole flow, and then they bring you back to like the coming out of the breathing
Mm.
part of it. But it's just interesting because I've sat in rooms with people that owned $1 million businesses, or because I went to an event. Both times I did was at an event, and these are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, people that were at the stage where they're trying to get healthier, build their life, that type of event. And it was just interesting to see the different reflections. Because when you said that, I thought about it. Some people were crying, some people were screaming, some people were just doing different things, like just different releases or whatever. But then we came together as a group afterwards and just kind of talked about it. And it was just like the level of breakthrough that people got was surprising. Not it was surprising me the first time, the second time, because I knew what was going to happen. I was like more with it, but after I'm like, holy cow. And it was like, I think it's like anything else, like yoga when we were younger, and we're still young. So, Candice, I'm just gonna say it. We're still young. I'm under 50. We're still young. Like I'm
Yes.
always
Yeah.
gonna
Oh,
be young.
I
It does
just,
not matter.
it was about yoga, not about our age.
I was just gonna make sure I threw that out. Like I joke with my wife. She doesn't get past 28. That's kind of hard now because my daughter is 23. We played that game. But no, I think a lot of stuff that was woo or crazy is now becoming more mainstream because people are understanding. Oh, wait a minute. This is actual scientific backing behind it. You mentioned that earlier about having the certificates and the different things and doing it ethically. Have you run into people doing like breathwork non-ethically or maybe teaching this but not maybe having the right certification? Is that kind of something you've run into or?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. Most people that I know that practice have some sort of credentials, or took some sort of training. I'm sure that it could happen, and there are some certifications that I don't necessarily agree with. There are certifications that are kind of quick, quick, like this is a quick little add-on to your practice. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because you need to be trauma informed. It's not necessarily something that'll come up. It doesn't come up with every journey, and truthfully, the bread and butter of my practice isn't those longer journeys anyway, but it doesn't always come up. I would say it comes up way less often than it does,
Mhm.
but you need to be able to deal with that. If it does, you need to be prepared. So I haven't seen anyone doing anything that I would say is unethical. I guess there are people who do things that I might not do, but I'm more conservative and more
Mhm.
cautious.
No, no,
So
I get that. And the only reason I said it is because in the coaching space in general, we're taking it out of breath. We can go into sales, marketing, business, whatever. There's a there's 18-year-old life coaches. What
sure.
life are you coaching? There's people that did one good month in sales and now are training people because they got lucky with the client. They're trying to train it. I think you need to have the skill set, the training, the background, the understanding to do it.
Mm,
Like I do sales coaching, but if you look behind me, you can see the sales awards. I have 20 years experience. I can lay out the foundation of why I can teach sales to you. But 10, 15 years ago when I was first starting out, I wouldn't have been training people. That wouldn't have made sense because I didn't have that knowledge and
right.
skill. That's why I was asking that question. Um, so are you doing more? It's so diverse. I love it. Are you doing more with the breathwork right now or more with the marketing, or is it kind of a 50-50 thing? I know you still have the law thing too, but it sounds more like you moved into the marketing and the breathwork if I heard you correct.
I don't practice law. It's interesting because I'm actually looking at shifting a lot of my newer marketing materials that I'm going to start creating this spring. We're almost at Q2 already, which is crazy to me. I think I'm going to start promoting some of my things more towards lawyers, and one of my certifications is very much like having a license in a way, an unlimited license, the way that he allows this. And we have all sorts of access to materials, different research materials and slides about very performance oriented, corporate kind of training, B2B type of stuff that would be good for lawyers. So I'm actually thinking kind of adding law back in that way, but I don't practice law myself. I would say I have been doing more breath work and know, like I said, that that's kind of where I'm taking that next. But based on what the market seems to want at the moment, I think I probably am going to be focused a little bit more on the marketing side of my business in the near future
Mhm.
because breath work is something that first I do find that my best clients have some familiarity with the topic and they already are aware of the fact that it can benefit them. They might not understand the how or the why, but that they're aware that it can benefit them. So, I'm not wanting to having to get into teaching people totally cold, but I'm having a
Mhm.
lot more people right now. It's a weird time market wise, politically, like in the world, there's a lot going on. People are not wanting to spend a whole lot. And they're like, breathing? Like, I don't know. Am I spending money on breathing? And it's,
Mhm.
again, I'm not here to convince you, be like, well, it's not really that. It's a huge membership with all these
Right.
if you want to be convinced, I'd love to convince you, but I'm not going to sit here and try from a cold start. So with just, again, the state of the world right now. So I think that, people always understand, right? There's always going to be things that need to be launched. There's always going to be new things to promote, to put out into the world. And I think that is probably going to become a little bit easier for me to do in the near future. So expect to start
Mhm.
kind of shifting a little bit back towards that. Um, but I have been focusing more on breath work. I guess I see the breath work stuff as a little bit more my baby, right? Because
Right,
I
right.
work with other people on their marketing and I help out them with their launches, whereas this is my stuff and I'm doing it all. So
Mhm. No, I love that. But I think that's entrepreneurship. That's when you're running your own stuff. Sometimes you have to pivot to go, okay, cool. What is the market asking for? Not what do I want to do, but what is the market asking for? Like with me, I love helping people wake up to a life they love living, plan their life out, figuring out what their angle is, and then helping them fund it. But 9 times out of 10, that is not how I catch them. 9 times out of 10, I get them because I'm really good at sales. And that's what ends up happening. So it's one of those things where I hook them with the sales and then I help them get to where I really like to get into my zone of genius, or my wheelhouse, what I like. But same thing with marketing. I bet you help a bunch of marketing companies, they grow, they get bigger, and then all of a sudden they have internal struggles and stuff. And you're like, oh, I can help you with breathwork now. Like I could see where the two could go together.
yeah, I have VIP days sometimes where I help people plan out their launch in a day. And what I've built into that day when we start in the morning and when we come back from our lunch breaks, there is a little bit of breath work that I add into the day because that's what I tend to do myself. I don't do those longer conscious connected breathing journeys that we talked about. I have never done those more than once a week. Sometimes I do them less. That can be it can be intense. It can be a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
And just a little bit of breath work at a time can help. Like you mentioned box breathing. Box breathing it's an incredible tool. Like yes, is it basic? Yes, but it's an incredible tool. It's actually part of why my company is called four breathwork, 44 breathwork, because it's
Nice.
4x4. But it's a wonderful tool. The Navy SEALs use it. It has like, proven physiological, there are markers that change physiologically when you do it. And so I've learned that just a little bit of breath work at a time makes a big difference in how I feel, throughout. I tell people it's like breath work band-aids, right?
Hmm.
You don't, a band-aid's not going to help you if you've been shot, but it is going to help with that paper cut that is really irritating. It's going to help put medicine and deliver it into the paper cut and prevent it from turning into gangrene and having you have to amputate it later, So I talk about, especially I live in Miami and I tell people that the number one place I do breath work is in my car. There are some traffic lights that, especially they've changed the timing of traffic lights near me. There's been a lot of growth in my area since COVID.
Hmm.
And as the traffic lights get longer, there are certain lights that I just pull up and I just start breathing. Because to me, that is the true power of breath work. It's to get me to stop freaking out that moment and change everything else that happens afterward in the day.
No,
So,
I love
so
that.
that's
I
the type
do.
of breath work I do. I do a lot of shorter, I teach people a lot of shorter techniques like that and why that one works and when you would want to use that one, but you wouldn't want to always use that one, right? There are times you need something more lively or more sedating or so, yeah.
No, I love that. Like I think about here in Phoenix, where I'm at, they're doing construction and it's growing and it's busy. And I used to live in Dallas, Fort Worth. And I'll be honest, I yell at cars at times. So I'm like, what are you doing? Breathwork would be a better option for me for sure. I'm sure because they're not going to hear me anyway. So me just getting frustrated is just affecting me, not them. Um, so with where you're going with everything right now, sounds like you kind of are bonding the two, helping with the marketing, then bringing in Breathwork where it makes sense. What are some key things that you see coming in the market that people can start to look for um, to get their brand out there? Because you're a marketing expert as well. Like you've been doing marketing for a long time. So I want to pick that side of your brain too. How can they stand out in this noise?
It's interesting. I had a thought myself that I was expressing to someone a couple weeks ago, and then Ryan Levesque came out and had a webinar last week. I'm not sure if you know who Ryan Levesque is from the Ask Method, but he's a pretty well-known online marketer. And the Ask Method is his framework, and it's a book, and he's got a couple other books with that. And he came out with this webinar last week that I didn't see, but I understand that he basically had said the same thing that I was positing. And it's that so for right now at this moment, I have a membership for my breathwork. I do coaching as well and other services as well. But my main thing that I have is a membership. And it's something that is kind of mid-range. And one thing that I've been thinking about doing is adding a lower ticket tier that would be, about like $10 ish a month. It would have a lot less access to stuff. Like say, there are things that I add every month. You would get, say, the flavor of the month as opposed to having all the previous months. But kind of a lighter amount, less access to me, a light tier, but then also having a higher ticket tier, right? And doing something that is like way, I shouldn't say I shouldn't even say higher ticket. Like it wouldn't be high ticket per se, but just quite a bit more than it is now. So that the option that I have now really would be a mid-level type of price range. So, and in this webinar that Ryan Levesque had, I guess he was saying like that middle part is going to be coming out sooner than we think due to AI, that AI is going to replace a lot of that middle stuff. So you want to have something that's almost kind of commoditized, and then you want to have something that's really very human, very you, very experiential. And so when I heard that, I was like, all right, my idea must be onto something if he's doing a webinar that's saying basically that same thing. So especially seeing how quickly AI moves,
Hmm.
seeing just the conversation around something like Claude Cowork. I don't know how much you follow AI, how much you pay attention to AI news. Within 2 business weeks, Monday to Friday, I had seen all different manners of offers for Cloud Cowork, from like free 20-minute, here's a quick and dirty migration thing, to like 1,200, let me move your whole team for you, and everything in between, right? Like that's how quickly you can learn AI right now. That's how quickly some people are getting stuff in place. And that's also the variance, right? From free to 1,200. Um,
Right.
but that's how quickly anyone can learn this stuff. So take advantage of that to the extent that you're able to, right?
Hmm.
Use AI tools to the extent you can benefit from them in order to help you create with that lower end, more commoditized stuff. And I say to the extent you can benefit from them, because there's also going to be a point at which it doesn't make sense for you to learn them, right? It makes more sense for you to
Right.
pay someone else to learn them or to do whatever else. But yeah. And then on the other end, again, hyper authentic, hyper you, hyper personalized. Yeah.
No, no, I'm with you. I do that. I have I'll drop little PDFs at times on sales coaching on how to connect with the C-suite because I'm really good at that. I've dealt with companies 300 to 1,000 people. Like that's my sweet spot. Their revenues anywhere from 10 million to over a billion. So like they're harder to get into. They're not like the mom and pop shop. So I've done like little PDFs. So for B2B sales guys, hey, or girls, hey, this is how you attack this persona. But I also have individual coaching where I will take you through my whole system, show you, tweak you, help you, build you up, give you the right ideas, and give you feedback, which is way more. because a PDF takes me 10 seconds. If you want an hour of my time, we're talking at least $1,000 because I know I'm taking 20 years experience and I'm bringing it to you. And I think that's what people need to realize in the AI world. AI will take care of all the menial tasks. I've had a bunch of AI experts on. I use AI every day. I love AI. I think our ability is to take our skill sets and where we have a lot of value, like you with marketing, you could charge someone to do marketing for them or teach them marketing or show them how to do things with your wisdom. The AI can't because it doesn't have the personal human touch. That is the one thing most people are forgetting. The other thing is for business owners, just a little thing here, and I'm sure you would say this too, face-to-face meetings. AI can never replace you in a meeting with your client. Use AI to get the meeting, then you can go face-to-face or even face-to-face virtually like we are because you're in Miami, I'm in Phoenix. That's even freaking crazy because now we can talk and we can partner and do business and we're 2,000 miles away from each other. When yoga was weird, we couldn't do that because I mean, we could maybe pick up a phone, but it was a lot harder. You know what I mean? Like all it does is it saves you time and it helps. Um, I think so many people think AI is going to replace everything. So I do want your thoughts on this. I don't think AI is going to replace everything. I think it's going to take care of all the menial tasks that no one wants to do and the boring stuff and the research. I still think that it's actually going to open up more opportunities, just like the car compared to the horse. Or when the computer came out in 1996, when I graduated from high school, we had a home computer. We were on AOL, and I literally, even when I was in college, would have to yell at the person, "Don't pick up the phone because I'm on the internet." And now it's changed and adapted and has grown. But at that time frame, we were still paying for long distance. And now my cell phone, everything changes, it grows, you know? So I want your thoughts on that part. What do you think? How do you think AI is going to play in the marketplace? And you can totally disagree with me. I'm great on that. Like on my show, I have ideas. I don't expect everyone to say yes. Like if you have a different thought, please share
No, I do think you're absolutely onto something that, yes, it's going to present new opportunities. The thing with I was just talking about this with someone. They said, what am I doing with all this information? Like, am I using it? Am I just reading it? Is it going in when you're at the, should I be using it? And I said, it's about discernment, right? There needs to be the human brought skill of discernment. You have to decide if what the AI is saying to you is worth paying attention to, which parts do you need to follow up? Do you need to check it? Is it totally BSing you? Right? It's you need to learn to look at your AI with a critical way. And you need to train your AI. And everyone's AI could be as personal as they are. It could be as unique as your fingerprint because
it.
of what you're putting into it and the conversations you're having with it and so forth. So, if we took a prompt and gave it to 5 different people, you would the exact same prompt, you would get 5 completely different outputs based on how they interact with their AI.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's say my AI is a much better copywriter because that's my background than my husband's would be, who is an ER doctor who has, the only time he uses AI is for like dictating and doing charts and stuff like that, medical things. So if you were to tell his and you were to tell mine, again, identical instructions, but for writing something, mine's going to look really good and it's going to be something that I can work with and make it into something that I feel happy to send pretty quickly, whereas his is not. And in order to get his to that level, there's got to be stuff done to get it there, right? And that's easier and easier to do. Don't get me wrong. That process is becoming, faster and simpler and more commoditized itself. But those aspects of it are going to always make individuals' AI unique. And that's going to be something that they bring to the game. So yeah, I think there are some things will become obsolete and some opportunities are also going to emerge.
Yeah. Well, it's just a change. Actually, I had a different friend of mine named Donovan. I don't know if you know him, Redenbach. I might be saying his last name wrong. Anyways, he's
Good
like,
AI
he was,
expert, very
yeah, he's
smart.
phenomenal. He put on there, he goes, you should ask your AI where it's bullshitting you. And I'm like, oh crap. And I did. And it goes, well, yeah, when you did this and then I'll use one of the funny ones. I'm into fantasy and I go down rabbit trails. And I had it make me a dragon. Then I asked it about like, because there's stuff online. Like I said, I go, this is a weird rabbit trail. Like, what was the difference? Am I more Atlantean or Lemurian? And I'm not even really into. Like, it's just interesting. Like, what do you think? And it's telling me this stuff. Then when I asked it, where you be asking, well, I made up this because it's not true, and I did this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And a lot of people don't ever challenge their AI. Like I've trained mine to work for me, and you have to train each one. Whether you think ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Gronk, there's so many of them right now. Do you have a favorite AI that you like to use? Like I use Copilot because that's easy for me, and I have ChatGPT. I've used Claude a little bit.
I've started getting much more into Claude right now because of Claude Cowork.
Hmm.
And the fact that it runs in the background on your local computer. And I can also understand that makes some people uncomfortable for sure. AI always will. Um, but I see it, like this stuff is coming. It's, people like data, privacy, those are always going to be issues every day of our
Hmm.
lives from now forward. Let's be smart. Let's try to be careful. Let's use VPNs. Let's use good passwords and all that stuff. Let's anonymize data as we need to. But if you can allow yourself to just accept that this is part of modern life, it's quite a tool to be able to, tell it good morning and have it come back to you with, a morning summary, a bunch of ideas, to do for
Hmm.
the day based on your audience and da, da, da. And it's really a neat tool. So I've been getting a bit more into Claude with Claude Cowork, but I've got to move some of I'm a big, probably Chat GPT the most. The most basic is never the best, but it's the best workhorse. I think it's just got
Hmm.
a lot of firepower behind it and all that stuff. It's a good overall basic. I know that a lot of people have been wanting to move their stuff away. I'm doing it right now largely because the Cloud Cowork stuff is just more efficient.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've got to take the time to do that. I've got to pick a weekend and choose one morning to do it and just tear the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, well, I think it's just you get comfortable with doing different things and just finding the one that works for you. Like my wife loves Copilot. I've used ChatGPT a lot because I've trained that one the most.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, I think before I have a little dyslexia and I'm not great at spelling. So when I do posts online or stuff, I will put in there and say fix grammar or enhance what I do. And I actually have it down to write my voice for me now. So like I can go and give it a topic, go, give me some topic ideas on this. Now here's the thing, people don't hear what I'm not saying. I'll have it give me some topic ideas sometimes, and then I'll rewrite it better and more in my voice because I'm just using that as a tool. I'm not just having ChatGPT write content for me because guess what? And I'm sure as a marketer, you can see this. You can tell online when it's strictly AI and when it's someone that's actually put time and effort into that maybe enhanced it by AI. At least I think, I don't know, on my Facebook feed at least, maybe not yours, but on mine, I've seen people like, you just copied and pasted that from AI. Like you don't even know what that word means. What are you doing?
It's interesting to see all the different tells and all the different it's like like micro viral trends in a way. But it's funny because the I think the very first thing people talked about a lot with AI writing was M dashes and how much more it uses M dashes than people normally do. Well, I always have liked M dashes, but I've always just kind of done them as medium length dashes. I've never given it so much thought in my life as I have over the past year. Meanwhile, I was on an AI call the other day and someone was like, "What's an M dash? Oh, does it do that?" So, again, like as marketers, we're a lot more attuned to some of that stuff than many lay people are. So they don't always see these different tells. But certain sentence structures, lately one that's become really popular is not A, not B, but C. You see that a lot. And I've
Yeah.
also noticed times when people put times in their email, I've seen more than one person put 1047. So for some reason, when AI is drafting something for you, it's making the time 10:47. And I've
That's
noticed that
strange.
if you just, so when I see that now, I'm like, oh, that was written by AI. And then I go to the next email. Like I immediately stop reading because
Yep.
it's one thing to say, right? You said it yourself. I work with AI. I have no problem telling you I work with AI. I draft with AI. But I would never say that that AI wrote this because I want too much of a hand in it. I was talking about this
Mhm.
with some of my writer friends. Um, because when I got back into marketing, I was a copywriter initially. And someone else that we follow kind of says he follows a model that's like 10, 80, 10. Spend 10%, you're doing 10% of the input at the front end, you're prompting it, you're giving it the conditions, you're explaining what you need, you're giving it all that context so that it does it right for you as best as it can. Then it's doing 80% of the work, and then you're doing the last 10%. You're refining, you're
Mhm.
tweaking, you're changing, whatever. And for us, we're like at minimum, it's more, 20, 60, 20 minimum because we're
Mhm.
writers and we still
Yep.
want that say in what comes out and we still want to make those changes and make it a little bit more us. And it necessary? No, but it's the love of the craft in a way, right? Is it things that
Mhm.
really always are impactful? Maybe not. And that's a thing to watch out for too, is diminishing returns on the stuff you're doing. But for some people, 10, 80, 10 is great. But for other people, you're going to want more of yourself in that mix. And that's fine too.
Yeah. No,
So,
I'm that way. I'm with you. Like I write fantasy. Like I write historical fiction and like dragon swords. Like again, remember I mentioned dragon before. I'm into that type of stuff. And I was using ChatGPT to just fix the grammar, and it goes, "Do you want me to enhance it for you?" So I let it one time, just a draft, something I haven't released, and I hit it, and it did. I'm like, I hate this. Go back to where it was because it didn't feel like my voice, and I think that's the you have to get the balance. But today also, I needed to send a quote to a possible client. It took me what would have taken me a half hour to 45 minutes, took me 3 minutes because I said, write me a quote, put this pricing in, give three different options. Remember, you mentioned the three option thing. I did three different options, three different packages, different time frames. This is the company. This is what I'm trying to do. Pop. And because I've trained it enough, it gave me a quote for this customer based off of her needs. It pulled the website, pulled off the key points that she would need for to work with me in sales coaching, and it took me like 3 minutes. So that totally great. Like I'll have no problem if you get a quote from me for sales. I 9 times out of 10 put it through Chat GBT or Copilot or something to make it prettier because it's going to format it better than I would in general. I think it's saving time, but like when you see me write posts online or like when I see my friends write stuff, I know when they're using it, when they're not. And the ones that really love to write, like, yeah, they're definitely not using AI for this because it I don't know, it has a different feel. But I'm still the old school weird dude. I see all the books behind me. If I'm reading a book, I have to have the book. If I'm reading an article online, that's one thing, but I have to have I can't, my wife can read off of a computer. I can't. It bugs me.
I made myself get used to it early. My husband and I moved in 2009. We moved to New Zealand for 6 months. And so I got a Kindle to take to New Zealand because I've always been a big reader. That's probably
Mhm.
my main pastime over TV, over podcast, whatever else. And I knew I wasn't going to take all these books with me. So I taught myself to read on Kindle. And now I use the Kindle app mainly on my iPad.
Mhm.
But I get, it's nice to have a colored cover, to be able to read the leaf with the description set, to see where you're at in the book physically.
The
I
smell.
get
I'm
it. And I
weird.
do miss that. But I've gotten used to the no paper. I still do have some books, but every year we go through, some boxes of things out, out in the garage or out in the attic. My husband's like, go through these. And I'm like, that's a box of books. He's like, right, go through it. I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife collects pugs. I collect books. That's how it works. But you mentioned New Zealand. This actually has made me chuckle. I think I told you this before. I did tell you this. I'm going to be in New Zealand next, or maybe it's a different call. I'm going to be in New Zealand next year running through Hobbleton, the Lord of the Rings set. So
Yeah.
I'm going to nerd out for like 10 seconds here. Frodo was 50 in the books when he went on his adventure and went to Mordor. In the movies, he looks like he's 19, but in the
Yeah.
books, he was 50. I'm 48 now, but next year, my birthday's in April. Next year, right before I turn 50, I'm going to be doing a half marathon. My son's going to do it with me in New Zealand through Hobbiton. So I
Nice.
think that to me just makes me chuckle because again, I'm a Lord of the Rings nut. But you said New Zealand. So are there any key places I need to go in New Zealand? You were there 9 months. You were there a pretty decent time.
6 months, I think. But
Oh, 6 months. Sorry,
yeah,
I added
Hobbiton
three.
is all good, all good. Hobbiton is not too far from where we were based. We
Oh,
were
nice.
based in a town called Rotorua, and Rotorua, I do recommend visiting. There are two reasons it's very very famous. First, it's got a lot of geothermal activity. So there's a geyser that goes up, pretty regularly, like Yellowstone. There's a whole, volcanic kind of park and all these different geologic things that you can see, and you can just be walking around and see like the ground bubbling as you're walking by, which is pretty neat. And a byproduct of that, this is not the second thing, but a byproduct of that is some couple hundred years ago, I'm not sure who decided, but they took some redwood seeds from California. They're like, we wonder if redwoods would thrive in this kind of soil. And so now the second most populous redwood area in the world, aside from Northern California, is Rotorua. And there's a whole section
Wow.
of there's an amazing forest in Rotorua. And the whole kind of first section of this forest is just all redwood. Like the first, 20 minutes worth of this forest is all redwoods. And since I've been there, they've built this whole kind of walkways, kind of wood plank stuff, bridges, whatnot. So that should be very cool. I recommend seeing those two things, which are due to the state of the ground there. The other reason that Rotorua is very cool is that it is the seat of Maori culture. So you've probably heard of Aborigines in
Hmm.
Australia. There are Maori in New Zealand. So those are the ancient tribes that have been in New Zealand for the longest. And visit a Maori community house and do a dinner and learn about their culture and different things like that. And I believe throughout New Zealand, but especially a little bit more in Rotorua, you'll see, the signs at the store are in English and then they're in Maori, which is really cool. So
Nice. And they're the
yeah,
ones that do the dance, right? And I'm going to say it wrong.
yes,
It
but
starts
yes, the
with an
dance, the
H.
haka, like they do
Yeah,
before the rugby games.
yep,
Terrifying, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a very like spiritual, it's a, warriors. Yeah, that's a Maori thing, Maori
No,
tradition.
I love it. I've seen a couple when people had passed and they did one and like that emotion because the emotion even in the rugby or soccer or they would call it football or even Australian rules football. I've seen them do it on all of it. Yeah, that's I'm always interested in culture, so I'm like the weird person that before I go out, probably like, hey, what are the local spots to go to? I don't care about yes, I'm going to Hobbiton. Yes, I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd fan. I'm gonna do that. Yes. But I always love the like whenever I travel, I want to go to where the locals go. That's really cool that not many people know about. I don't know. I just because I love being immersed in the actual culture of the places I've been. Like when I was in Bolivia, same type of thing. I want to get to know the actual people. Malaysia, same thing. I want to actually get in their world. I have that curiosity aspect in myself. I'm always like, why is that? It's probably why I do a podcast because I'm always curious about people and why they think a different way and why they do different stuff. Um, where can people find you? I know we've kind of gone with breathing, with marketing, with lawyers, with New Zealand. Like we've done a bunch of stuff, but where can people find you, Candice?
Probably just the easiest way is CandiceLazar.com. From there, you can check out one of my other websites and connect through to read my blog. You can connect through to download some free breathing stuff. But yeah, CandiceLazar.com or 44breathwork.com.
Awesome. Perfect. And before I let you go, because I know we bounced around a little bit, was there anything else you wanted to leave our listeners with? Anything else you wanted to bring up, talk about?
I will just tell you that your breath is the fastest, easiest way that you can change how you feel at any given time. So if you can learn to control your breathing, if you can learn to figure out how to use your breathing to bring yourself down when you want to come down, or to boost your energy when you want to boost your energy. If you can learn that, then you can control how you feel pretty much anytime, which is an amazing way to be able to move through your day and through your life.
I love it. I actually have done that on this episode when I've gotten too excited, or if I was like a little bit not focused, I was doing breathing while you were talking. So I think that's amazing. Candice, again, thank you for being on this show. And for all you listening, share this episode with someone that needs it. And until next time, have a beautiful